What's going on, guys? We're back with the Digital Deep Dive series. I'm sitting down today with Chris Marxwell, the very first person I met on day one of my pro wrestling training. We go over that. We go over the culture of the PCW and the big wrestling scene, being a referee and how that's helped build us as professional wrestlers. So much more, including some of the biggest battles you'll ever have to fight in your life. So let's not waste any more time. Let's do it. Let's go for the dive. Dive. It's been a while, but I'm very excited here to have a longtime friend who I'm gladly reuniting with online as COVID still kind of keeps us locked down here in Manitoba. He's Pcw Commissioner. He's a former professional wrestler. And I think one of the inspirations for me as far as refereeing and how to take it seriously as a job. And we're going to dive into all of that and more. This is, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Marxwell. Chris, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How do I follow that introduction? Like, it's just, yeah, I guess I definitely have done a lot. I've climbed the ladder, I guess was what you could say. But yeah, I'm definitely, this is my first interview, so let's be gentle with me. But yeah, I'm eager to kind of talk about, anything really you want to dive into today.
For sure. I think there's a lot of similarities with us. You just mentioned climbing the ladder. We literally had some of the same roots. And I think even similar in how we got into the business, which is kind of what I want to dive into first. You're in Winnipeg. There is a local wrestling scene. Were you aware of it beforehand, or did you just kind of fall into it and immediately jump into PCW?
It definitely was the latter. What it was is actually I want to say it was either, like, looking back on it, of course, you always think it's 1 year, and then it's actually maybe it's a different year. And I always thought it was my 18th birthday. And you know what? On my 18th birthday, I got a tattoo. I was hanging out with my friends and family. I don't remember going out to the bar. However, on my 19th birthday, I think I wanted to go out for once finally. I went down to a local bar. Known as the Lid, or actually, it was actually the Stratosphere, I think, at that time.
Okay.
And I walked in, and of course, me not being a bar guy, I walked in right at like 8 o'clock because I didn't know you don't go till 10 or 11.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I'm going at 8 o'clock, whatever. And so I walk in, and there's this big bouncer. He's, probably got, in my head, I was like, he's got like a foot taller on me. And it turned out to be Andrew Shawcross. But it wasn't him that got me interested. It was a Hall of Famer by the name of Greg Roman, who was also a bouncer. And what I noticed was he had the logo, the old-fashioned PCW logo on the front. And he turned around, he walked away, and it said the Industry of Cool. And me being a huge wrestling fan since, I was definitely a teenager when I got hardcore into it, but I would say my first sample was probably, WrestleMania, I think 12 or 13, renting,
Okay.
but I didn't we never got the pay-per-views. My family couldn't afford it. It was always that rental. And it being a child, you always got that one. And it was finally, I was allowed to be off the hook, nothing rated R, but I was allowed to go and search for whatever I wanted. And I'm looking through the aisles. And I remember seeing, I think, it was WrestleMania 13. And I believe it was on the back of the VHS. It's the infamous side shot of Bret Hart with Austin and the sharpshooter, and there's blood. And I remember, okay, yeah, I want to get this. And luckily, my aunt grew up during the 80s, during the wrestling boom, and was a huge wrestling fan growing up. So she kind of, all right, it's okay. But that's a different story. Talked to diehard Greg Roman, and he, I was asking, like, what's the shirt about? Like, what's PCW? And he's like, well, we run a wrestling show in our bar. And I was just mind blown. And like how you said, was I, did I know about it, or was it when I found out by accident, was I all in? And I instantly, how can I help? What can I do? Anything. And he's like, show up on Wednesday. You can help set up the ring. And I was like, done. And as I'm like, sipping away, having a few drinks and all that stuff. Of course, I didn't really have a lot of money back then. I didn't have a strong enough liver to last a full night from 8 o'clock till 2 a.m. So I kind of tapped out. I'd say about 10:30, 11, and Roman sees me on the way out, and he jokingly said, hey, if you know anybody that wants to help, bring them along. Because of course, now as you and me knowing, setting up this ring, hey, if you got a crew that you can bring on your own, screw it. I don't need to now do anything except for kind of monitor, do the fine tweaks. Like he was definitely very smart of how to get his hands off the ring. And so I brought my own crew, and yeah, eventually Roman he stepped away from the business and I took over the ring. Which then, as you know from the stress of it, because you eventually took it over from me as well.
Right.
When I started receiving, I would say, a few more injuries that I would have appreciated. But thankfully, you and, your crew that were able to kind of ring together, you were able to kind of, take all that off my hands ever since. Like I don't remember the last time I've set up the ring actually. So not
Feels
saying
nice, I bet.
it's actually no. When we were out in Lundar, it
Oh.
actually it took my wife to hold me back from taking down the ring. Because it just felt so odd that it's like, well, I can go pick something up, but she knows medically, no, that could really do some damage. Like you're lucky enough that you got to rep the entire show
Right.
and survive, let alone you're going to go start carrying heavy steel, if you take a fall by accident because your leg gives out, not good. So it felt weird. Like it'll be nice when I can help out with the ring more than just kind of point and just give advice.
Right.
Especially with, I know I haven't been in town as often as I should. It's like I'm actually catching up online on the shows that I've missed because I know there's been a lot of stuff that I've missed and a lot of business that needs to be handled. And I know when I come back, I'm going to handle it. But I know that ring has got some repairs it needs to. We use a lot of duct tape that where we need to not. So that's going to be step one when I come back. Definitely for sure to help out.
Yeah, I mean that ring's definitely over 20 years old. It's seen better days. It's a very different model than what most people see as a wrestling ring now. There's so many nuts and bolts and little parts, and like the ring has seen better days, and it's seen a lot of bodies bumping through it.
I've seen a few rings being set up and taken down. I don't think I've ever seen a ring like PCW.
No, me neither.
It is a custom built.
For sure. You mentioned the Lid nightclub, and to me, and I mean, I started at PCW kind of just at the tail end. I wish there was more emphasis on the specialness behind that venue, that building specifically. It was a nightclub, like you said, you ran in one night. But this nightclub was specifically designed with pro wrestling in mind. There was a center dance floor designed so that tables could surround the ring. It was a really amazing venue, and being a couple of blocks away from the university, it really brought this younger crowd that weren't necessarily wrestling fans, but we also did have that hardcore group of wrestling fans. How special is the Lid looking back now, and how lucky we had it then versus now, what you see?
As a bar in general, it was something special. Just for the fact of just the environment, the crowd that was drawn. You had a mix. But the wrestling there was definitely very special. Tom Manos, who was commissioner at that time, he was the owner of the venue. And when they changed the bar, they specifically, as you said, designed it for wrestling with the sunken dance floor. It does give it a good, nightclub vibe, but it also gives you 2 layers of seating now where you can have people sitting on the dance floor, ringside without a barrier. The amount, I can't count the amount of tables that we broke, like it was getting to the, glasses were fine. Tom
Pool
didn't really
cues.
care about glasses. Pool cues, they were hidden usually, but it
Yep.
was the tables, and those cost a lot of money. And
Yes.
just it's simple. You pick a guy up, you drop him right on there because it's just gonna give that extra impact on his face that you don't have to. It's saving you that stamina that you don't have to kick or punch, but they hit it at a certain angle and it just breaks on them.
Right, right.
And it would always just flip.
So
But
the Lid nightclub is actually where I bumped into you first, and that was
yeah,
my introduction to pro wrestling. I've told the story plenty of times of just finding a flyer for a show and deciding to email, like you said, Andrew Shawcross, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden I get invited to a Wednesday night to come set up the ring and check out some training, and there is yourself
yep,
and Marty Labossiere. So a very
yes,
small group of guys trying to
yes.
train. How early were you into training then? Do you remember specifically that timeline?
That was about my second run. I had to take some time off and become a referee for a little bit because I was very small when I came into the business. I had to, eat, because my metabolism. So I definitely already knew how to kind of bump beforehand. But at that point, I want to say we were, probably doing more drills,
Yeah.
more actual trying to figure out how the pacing of a match, things like that. With us being able to train on Wednesdays before the Thursday show, that was the added benefit of working in the Lid, was that the ring was right in the back. Most of the times, either yourself or I could just ask for entry, and we could. Well, I guess maybe not you at back that point,
No.
but you guys knew that at any time, hey, we want to get the ring up early as possible so we can get as much practice in as possible. Even before our trainer would show up, we want to we want to make sure our bumps look better, work on the things from last week that hey, this kind of sucked. You're not really great at this. How can we improve? Of course, a little bit more of improvisation of let's, hey, we're not doing diamond cutters yet, let's practice that.
Right,
Of
right.
course we're doing that. But having our trainers, knowing that the ring is going to already be up and we're already warmed up and ready to go, we've already stretched and everything. Another really added bonus. You showing up was definitely, it was an interesting time, because of the fact that, I'll be honest, I was very arrogant at that time. I saw you come in and you were the same size as me. You had the same energy as me, and I was like, oh shit, my spot. Like that
Oh yeah.
I never thought of that. And you even, like, it was like you started doing the ring. And it was like I would come in and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna check your taping. You're like, well, my taping's done. I'm like, well, I'm looking for it to be the way I do it. I'm looking, I'm like, shit, this, not only is this guy's doing it his way, I'm kind of it. This way is actually better. Not the bolts actually come off a little bit easier. Oh shit! Did I just learn something? Oh damn. Okay. Well, no, 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 no. He's not taking that. And then you started doing the advertising. Your wicked marketing skills, like your artwork that you can just, I remember when you came up to me. I can't remember which year it was, and I want to say it was our back to school bash or something with summer in it, and you had hidden like an Easter egg in someone's sunglasses. And I was like, what? And you showed me it blown up, and you're like, see, look, like this was, remember we were going to announce. And I was like, and he's like, yeah, but nobody saw it. It was like, the only people that did, they finally realized it after the show. And I was like, oh my God, like, so it was definitely a treat because it took me by surprise, but I realized that, like you were doing things that I was never going to be able to do at the Lid. I can't do that marketing thing. I can definitely make sure the ring is up safe, sound, repairs are done. I can poke Andrew so much, hey, you need to get funding because I'm not telling you we need to buy new boards. I'm telling you I'm going to buy new boards and I'm giving you a receipt,
Right, right.
you know.
That's interesting that you were kind of threatened by me. I had no idea about that kind of, but I mean, the vibe was so different too back then.
Yeah.
You kind of had the veterans around that had been around this local scene even pre PCW, and I mean, they treated us a certain way. And there was different levels of respect. It was a lot more old school back then, and the guys were bigger. You said you came in small. You were
Yeah.
You were about my size, and I wasn't very big coming in too, at like 120,
No.
130 pounds.
Yeah.
But you did miss a lot. You mentioned that earlier, that you missed a lot, and you did miss a lot. And it's unfortunate because I remember starting out with you and Marty Labossiere as well, who one
Yeah.
day I hope to get an interview with as well. He was amazing. But just hear these smaller
Yes. Yeah.
guys that shared the same passions and wanted to get into it. And it's guys I could tangle with. And even after training and stuff, we'd go and we'd grab a burger at Burger King or
Yeah.
whatnot. I remember those days, and it was exciting to have those guys. But then you and Marty slowly kind of faded out of the scene, and in comes this influx of guys like Scott Justice, Jackie
Yeah.
Lee, Leo London, David London, Alex Vanishaw. It's all of a sudden we've got all these kindred spirits with the same passion and energy, and
Yeah.
want to come and deliver the best show possible. And I miss my Marxwell and I miss my Marty. Like you guys should have been right there in the fold, and it's super
Yeah.
unfortunate. You've had a chance though, because you are PCW commissioner. You've had a chance to be around these guys and see
Yeah.
kind of this new wave of talent coming into PCW. What do you see as far as the difference in the locker room dynamics, as well as how the show has evolved over time, if it has evolved?
The show has definitely evolved. The earlier days when I joined, it was definitely more edgier. It was more of how the product was on television. Um, Nowadays, I find that yes, the locker room is more. It's still divided. You have, I guess the best way to describe it is you have your cliques. You have your pockets that, and you can even see it that, especially with where we currently wrestle, they give us a very nice room. I'm used to wrestling like when we used to wrestle at the Lid. It
Yeah.
was if you were a veteran, you got to get changed where the beer room was. Where all the empties are and the fruit flowers. That was
And
the
you got a
sweet
chair.
spot. Yeah, and you got a chair. But if you were green, you either got geared up beforehand, which I learned very fast. Get your stuff on early, throw on a hoodie. Done. But you'd either have to do it or you're in the narrow hallway by the ice machine and by the back door and
Yeah.
December and people coming in late and just your little shrinkage before the show starts. But yeah, the new, area that we have, you can clearly see that there's, your Jackies and your Scott Justice and your Gentleman Club back in the day. They would definitely isolate in one area. You would have Kenny and the veterans that were, more getting established when I joined as a referee. Like
Right.
I was there right when Kenny was opening shows and building up to being a main eventer, and it's so weird to like you could just see it in him at the beginning, but you could see that he's got his group, and then you also see the veterans of PCW's old time, your Adam Knights, your Moses Lukes. They've got their pockets because I feel it's more you want to be able to talk about certain times or certain things that you're going through. And those, people that you trained with, people that you've traveled with, those are the people that have established more connection.
Absolutely.
So I definitely see that kind of, you know, territoryism, I guess, in our locker room.
The way to say it. Yeah.
Not a lot of people kind of branch out and try and bridge it together, but definitely when we have our crew meetings, everyone is we're bygones be bygones. We're not going to try and fight. Let's hear what's going on, and then let's get to the show.
Right.
Because
I think playing into that, it's not so much that everyone's butting heads really behind the scenes or anything,
well,
but there is I would say our generation is more focused on the job at hand.
yeah,
Whereas the veterans are a little more relaxed. They're there to kind of see some old faces, catch up, tell some stories, or whatever. That's sort of the dynamic of it. I don't know. I've always had the feeling of everyone does get along really well. And when it comes time to work, everyone's there to kind of lace up the boots and let's go to work.
yeah. I guess I've been privy to just a few locker room hey, I'm not happy with you. And it's usually like I'm standing in the corner and it's, oh crap. Like, so it's more of just like everybody, you're right. Everybody does in the end. It's just like we're a family unit, but families do fight. Like we can't hide that. But it's just, I'm glad that at least everybody still gets along. No blood has been shed in the locker room, at least. It's all in front of the fans.
Right. We were talking earlier about you taking time away to be a referee.
Yeah.
I would love people to know how crucial it is for you, or was for you, being a referee at first before transitioning back into getting in the ring. How much did it affect and kind of shift your mindset of how to apply yourself in the ring?
I actually believe that any new trainee, before you become a wrestler, while you're still like, you could be in training, I believe that you should try and ref. It helps you so much with pacing, positioning, timing, and people think that those are all three same things. Like, no, but when you actually get in front of a live audience, and I'm talking 5 people is still a live audience,
Yep.
you will still get nervous because, like, even as a referee in front of 5 people for your first time, it's on you. We're supposed to be this invisible hand that, it enforces the rules, whether it's good or bad. We're just there to call it down the middle, one, two, three. But learning, where where to bump, noticing that, you try and attack that center of the ring, but also as a referee, knowing that literally X marks the spot, you're going to die if you're in the middle of that ring. So you got to stick to the certain pockets. And, I've had a few times where I've able to been, privy to, um, I guess, being taped and having to work a hard cam angle. That's probably one of the hardest things. Same with myself. I have been known to act very expressive in the ring when things go down, because I'm right there. So to some people, they think I'm reacting really badly. Sometimes those hits look really painful, and I'm trying to tell the fans, this stuff, like, you think it looks bad? Imagine being like 2 feet from it.
Right.
Imagine feeling the wind of that kick before he hits him in the face. Like, it it hurts.
No, I wish more people could watch your stuff locally as far as referees go, because I think you were a different breed that really took the job a lot more seriously, uh, compared to some that we've seen. It's really a lost art kind of locally
It,
around here as far as really good referees, and I'm hoping when things come back we can get more of a focus on that. Um,
I am definitely open to that.
no, for
I will
sure.
say it right now. Any referee out there, any non-referee out there that wants to reach out to me, I will show you the way. I will teach you how that it. To some people, they think that a referee is, oh well, I want to be a wrestler. Guys, guess what? There are 2 wrestlers in a match and a referee.
Yep.
WrestleMania main event, 2 wrestlers, referee. New Japan, oh, I'm blanking on the name. It just went by us right now. But it, like, it's always like, you are always like, no matter what main event out there, you could be in it. There's a part for you, depending on if you're passionate enough to take it serious to fill that role.
Absolutely. Um, I remember it's probably what would have been the first year. I remember stopping by your house once, and you'd collected a pretty decent little library of ROH tapes or
Yes,
DVDs. Yes.
I had
Um,
DVDs. Yeah.
is it PCW that led you to kind of discover the indies, or were you already following them at that time?
I'll be honest, I never really knew about the independents. I was a very big WWE boy,
Oh,
even like,
similar.
and like WCW, and I knew ECW, but of course I couldn't get pay-per-views back then. Well, I
Yep.
mean, I could get one, so it was always WWE.
Yep.
But I'd always, oh, what channel is pay-per-view on? Okay, I'm going to put it on the scramble. I'm gonna at
Nice.
least hear what's going on.
Right.
And sometimes the scramble wasn't as scrambly and you would just get, weird colored, for a bit. And I'm like, oh, hey, I'm actually like 5 minutes of wrestling. Great. I was led more to like Ring of Honor by my trainer, Robbie Royce. And things, definitely like at that time I was watching TNA because of AJ
Right.
Styles. I was drifting a little into New Japan, but I couldn't get my hands on it at that time. I never had a way to, record it off TV except for, VHS, and
Yeah.
it was DVD era. Nobody had a VHS player. So, but I was trying to, yeah, learn more styles back then because of the fact that, to perfect what I want to do and to make sure that I'm safe, I want to see how the professionals do it. And so,
Who are your biggest influences then?
I would have to say my biggest influence that I still go to like this day, because, I always bounce, off and on. One of the newer ones is The Miz, just because he has a very safe hand. Nobody's been hurt by him, or at least I'm not aware of. He's never been hurt. But the one back in the day that I'd always, whether he was young, in his teens, growing up, and just doing like high school wrestling, or even his Stampede days into WWE, maybe not so much WCW, but Bret Hart.
Right on.
He was always a big influence just because of the fact that he he wrestled a style he wrestles a style that I appreciate. The more brawler slash mat technical um, abilities opposed to high flying, but he still does a little bit of high flying, where he would, bring the elbow or an axe handle off the top. It's just, I think also now looking back on it, knowing how he was a babyface when I, first found him, and then Austin comes in. And watching WrestleMania 13. And of course, right after WrestleMania 13, I was, oh my God, I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh my God, he's the best thing ever. I want to grow a goatee. I want to shave my head. My family only allowed one. It was the goatee. Never allowed to shave the head until one summer my mom did it. And yeah, there were stories about that. They weren't pleasant, but I was happy. I was definitely happy. Um, but yeah, he just, knowing now that they orchestrated it, that, hey, it's his time to be the bad guy and Austin's time to be the good guy. And the fact that, as a child, like you were able to pull that wool right over my eyes, and it's like, and it's so like, if you watch that match, it's almost, I think I've timed it now because I've watched it so many times. It's about every like 3.5 minutes, you see each one of them slowly do something a little like a sliver difference. Brett does something just a little more heelish, whether it's, kicking the turf, or kicking the rope, where Austin kind of is pumping up the crowd a little bit more. Like it's these little things, and it just to this date, I can't help but just go back and watch Bret Hart and just study. And okay, that's how I'm going to snap a suplex. That's how I'm going to do a headlock takedown. That's how I'm going to throw my punch. Like I'm trying, like I want to be myself, but you kind of have to learn from the best. And why not Bret?
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing how I find so many similarities with you. I'm surprised though that you jumped in at the Attitude Era and you weren't a lifer like me. That took me by surprise a little bit, but now looking back, that makes so much sense. As far as just, I remember like coming up with you a little bit. Just yeah,
Yeah.
that definitely connects a lot of dots. So you're not wrestling right now.
No.
You are the PCW commissioner.
Yes.
I know you enjoy doing your promos.
Yep.
I assume, yeah. Do you enjoy the role? Do you miss the ring? What happened? Why are you commissioner? Let's dive into that real quick.
Real quick. Okay,
We'll try to be real
I'll
quick.
try my best. I know I ramble. I took a bad fall. I was facing. I remember it distinctly. It was about 5 to 6 years ago, and I took a stalling suplex, and I wasn't feeling right, and I couldn't even. Normally, I can hold it pretty good, but I couldn't hold the handstand, and my legs were coming down. And so, I didn't land right. I landed more on my side, and which is not a bad way to bump, but I just felt this immense of pain all of a sudden in my leg. And I remember trying to get up, and I couldn't get up. And of course I feared the worst right then. So I'm like, okay, we can't do much more. And I told the referee, and the referee, graciously, was able to tell my opponent, Moses Luke, at that time that, hey, I'm not hurt, I'm injured. Let's, you know, I couldn't tell you if I was supposed to win or if he was supposed to win. But I was like, okay, let's try and do these, little things. Like I want to try and finish the match. Like let's build towards the finish. And he just kind of picked me up right up onto his shoulders because he's, definitely a lot bigger than me.
Big dude, yeah.
He's a big dude, and he was just like, "Screw you, kid. We're taking it home." And he hit me with this finisher, and just, he pinned me. And I knew I couldn't kick out because I told him it was my left leg. So he didn't grab my left leg. He grabbed the right leg. He was like, and he held it. I think he thought that maybe, the arrogance in me or just the adrenaline that I would kick out. And so he locked it in. Like, he was like, "Stay down." And I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he was supposed to come out, and I was supposed to take a power bomb because it was supposed to write me off because it was getting into the winter time. And I, working retail, I'm always really busy, management, especially out of town at that time as well. Hey, or no, I wasn't out of town. I was in town, but I was still management, working retail. Most of the time I took the winters off. So it was going to be like a write-off show, or it might even have been, I might have pissed this guy off. I can't remember. I talk a lot of smack. People beat the crap out of me. Okay, it's what I did best, I guess. But he was supposed to come out and hit me with power bomb, and I told, Mo, hey, tell him what's going on. Be gentle, please. And I remember like leaning towards him, like, hey, like, pick me up, like, let's go, like, we're doing this. And he just pushed me with this foot, and he just like, "You stupid kid, get out of the ring." Like, no, we're not doing, like, you're like, it's one of those, like, I understand you work when you're hurt, but you don't work injured. And I was injured. It's like I couldn't even get up. Like, why am I taking more moves?
Right.
So I was helped to the back, and I stupidly didn't even go to the doctor that night. I was like, nah, I'll be fine. I need a soak.
Yep.
I need some Robaxacin. I need a little dabble in the partaking because that's what I do for pain. And I'll be fine. Next day, I was not fine. I couldn't even do my shift at work at that time. So I called somebody. I called Brendan. He covered my shift. I went to Pan Am. Okay, we're gonna do some X-rays. Went to my family doctor. It's lower back. I think probably they thought maybe just like a slight slip disc, but then all of a sudden I'm walking in the mall, and my baby sister and my wife and my family kind of noticed that I'm a little bit more like this. Like, people walk like this, and I'm like, my head's over here. That's not right. And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Nothing." Like, "What's wrong? What's wrong with you?" And they're like, "Is everything not on a slant?" And I'm like, "No." And I guess because, like, I guess I tilted my head, but like I was like, my body was just naturally kind of contouring that way. So we took me to the Victoria Hospital in Winnipeg, and they gave me a shot of cortisone in the in the left butt cheek. I felt fabulous afterwards. So that's when, okay, it's a back injury because it's something it's a back injury. It's affecting my sciatic. That's why I'm pressing over. Intense physio, intense massages. Like, I'm not talking the hammer stuff that you see on YouTube or even suction cups, but it was, it was definitely a lot of pain at that time. And it kind of, went away. That's when I started taking more of I was like, okay, I can't wrestle. I want to be the boss. You need, I've beaten enough of these people's heads in before. They hopefully will respect when I say I'll kick your butt if you don't listen to me. But then I moved away, and the problem when you move is that doctors change. And of course, when flares up happen, I've got this new doctor, and I'm telling her the same story, but I'm already telling her it's a back injury. Oh, it's a back injury. It's a back injury. So she diagnoses the same thing. I come finally back home to Winnipeg. My wife, and me, we wanted, during the pandemic, we realized, life is too short. We want to be close. We're alone out there, especially around Christmas time. We've spent Christmas by ourselves because I have to work. She's been very caring and very supportive of that. That's why I know she's, my one and all. And so we got the shining grace to be able to move back to Winnipeg, and I kind of got let go during the pandemic. It's a lot of people I know were affected. My store got closed,
Right.
and it sucks. But in a way, it didn't, because with my new job, they didn't. My old job, it's like, well, it's my back injury. I'll be fine. I can just stand at the counter and I can just lean. Well, my new job didn't really take that. They're watching me walk around and I'm hobbling on one foot, and they're like, that doesn't seem right, buddy. And I think to them, they could be worrying more about workers' comp, knowing it from a manager's point of view, like, hey, you get hurt here, we're liable, we got to pay you. No, 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 no.
Right.
Go get checked out. And when I called my doctor and I said, it's the back injury, he was like, no, it's been 5 years, you're done. That's over with. You'd be either healed or you'd be paralyzed, is what he said. I was like, what? And he's like, get down to a clinic, get some x-rays now. Tell the doctor what's going on. So I went down to Pan Am again. They let me in after hours. Like, I got there about 6:15, knocking on the door, security, like, they see me hobbling up. And so they're like, okay, this is not the usual case. Let's get him to the nurse. I explained to the nurse what's going on. I can't remember the doctor's name, but he was like, I'm here. Let's get him in here. Like, this is important. He told me by the weekend, if I'm not feeling better off certain meds, go to emergency. There's something wrong. So I go to emergency. Instantly, I get the nicest. I always get the nicest doctors most of the time. I had one bad doctor once, and I've had one bad dentist, but ever since then, I've always had great ones since then. And I had this really nice female doctor who came in, and she was just like, "You're gonna be fine. We're gonna put you on these meds. We're just gonna get you this standard MRI. Bam, we're gonna get you back to normal." And I felt so optimistic. Told my family doctor. He was so eager. He was like, "No, you go get a CAT scan." And I was like, "What?" Like, I've never had a CAT scan before. Like, I've had ultrasound, I've had MRI, I've had X-rays. Why this all of a sudden? And then that's when I got the call, and I found out I had a tumor, because my doctor was like, "You need to come in." And I jokingly, I was like, "What do you mean I need to come in?" Like, I didn't know. Like, he's like, "You need to come in tomorrow." And I'm like, "I didn't know I was going to be sick tomorrow. That's interesting." Like,
Right.
how progressive is medicine now in Winnipeg? But it's that they don't tell you that news over the phone.
No.
Like, that's a sit down, and it did. Like, me and my wife were there, and it's all these times where I've had to go get updates. I've had to need her to be by my side because I get tunnel vision. Especially lately now, talking about surgery, because with it being a tumor, it's actually pressing on a nerve, which is, again, to a little side medical talk, which is an L5 nerve, which is a lower nerve that affects more of your sciatic, where you get like Charlie horses. You get that pins and needle on your foot, on the bottom of your foot. And I get this. I've had this for 5 years. So luckily, it's sounding more progressive. Originally, when I saw the first doctor at Cancer Care, he was kind of more, "We're gonna have to treat this with medicine. It's gonna be one of those things, unfortunately, because it is benign," which is one of the great best things ever. The tests sucked. I have never been in so much pain in my life. I've done fans bring the weapons matches and had tetanus shots where a little side story. Andrew Shallcross and me, it's the very first Open Rules Championship. We are battered. I break his knee. I'm bloody as hell. I'm like, oh my God, like, I need stitches. Like, oh, my I was like, I was so worried about my family seeing this, because it's the day after my birthday. You know, it's
Of course.
Sunday on the weekend. I'm not living at home. So which day do you think I'm going to go see my family? I saw them on the 18th, but they're wanting to see me on Sunday again because it's always that you get second birthday, you get this, leftover cake,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get leftover lasagna in my house.
I remember the
Uh,
pictures from the match. I remember
yeah,
seeing some pictures. Yeah, no, you guys
but
definitely went through it.
this nurse at the hospital, she tricked me. She was like, oh, how's your neck? I'm like, oh, my neck is fine. Like I'm just bloody as hell. I need some stitches. Like I'm fine, I'm just cut. And like I got bashed open by a PlayStation. And they're like, oh, and you wrestled in a bar. And I'm like, well, yeah, we do it all the time. She's like, okay, well, just can you put your chin on your right shoulder? Yeah. Can you do it to your left? And as soon as I did this, she ninjas this needle out right into my arm because she says, like, most people, because they know it's a tennis shot, it's gonna hurt. They flinch, they move, you miss. Like, I gotta hit it at a certain spot. And yeah, she just jabs it. And I was like, lady, like the PlayStation hurt less. Like, God, oh. But yeah, and so all these tests, yeah, as worse, worser than that. But the fact that I've been living with it for 5 years, like, and he presented it to their, like, kind of an insider story. They presented to a board. It's not just one surgeon that you
Yeah,
see. So if you do happen to get this diagnosis, don't fret, because even if the first surgeon says, like he said with me, you're gonna have to live with this, and I'm like, you're telling me I have to live with a tumor like
right.
that? Me telling me that right now still gives chills to my stomach. However, when he presented it to this board, this new surgeon was like, "No, man, this, like, me taking that out is like is a Tuesday." And I'm like, "Are you what?" Like, when I was told this, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I met this new doctor, and it's so funny because, like, they are completely like Jekyll and Hyde. One is, like, I describe him as Clark Kent. The other one is Jack Sparrow. Like, rings on all his fingers, tattoos. The other
Right.
guy's, clean cut hair, no beard or anything. But surgery is sounding more progressive. So whether or not it means I can get back in the ring, I can't say that answer yet, because there's still complications that can arise. Um, I could still scarily end up being partially paralyzed from this. Which, thankfully, though, even though it's, like I said, it's partial because of the fact that there's this other surgeon has said, hey, if this happens, we counter it with this surgery. If this happens, we counter with X, or, like, hey, if you can't pick up your foot, well, we take out a nerve out of your toe, put it into your ankle, and now you can lift your foot.
Wow.
You just can't wiggle your big toe. Which one do you want to pick? Well, I'd rather be able to walk and run again than
Yeah.
wiggle my big toe. I don't really. How often do you wiggle your big toe?
Right. So,
Uh,
yeah, no, I definitely feel for you on that whole journey.
Thank you.
It's never good news with that stuff. There's a lot of definitely emotional roller coasters, as the ups and downs. Um, you mentioned you're not sure if you're coming back to the ring. That sounds like you're thinking about it, though.
Well, I mean,
You're hoping for
it's
it.
quick question. Let's answer that with another with a let's answer that question with a question. When a wrestler says, "I'm retired," are they really retired?
Right,
Like,
right.
come on. Like, it's just like there's always that. Like, I see this young crop of talent that are coming up, both good and bad guys. There are good guys that I want to team up with. Like, I would love, if I was 100% healthy and medically cleared, and Andrew Shallcross says, yeah, like, let's go, or any other promotion, Sweet and Tasty, oh, I would team up with them in a heartbeat.
For sure.
There are some people, like, I'm looking through my, like, a little bit of a backlog, and of course, I wish I would have written it down myself, but I didn't. But I'm seeing certain people's names not popping up that I've had a chance to face, and it's just that, you know, I want to. I kind of need to. Like, you talk about Marty Labossiere and how we've trained together. We broke bread together. We set up the ring together. Me and him, to my knowledge, have never faced one-on-one, nor I think even in a tag match,
Wow.
which like, I'll be honest, I'll face anybody on a one-on-one match, but I believe my specialty is tag. Well, I mean, hardcore, but I ain't doing that. Those days are done for me, hopefully.
For sure.
But I'm definitely more of a tag, minded guy. I dare say I've got some unfinished business. I guess deep down inside, being a singles wrestler. Yeah, I dare say I don't want to put. I got no wood to knock on, but if I could go back to my old life and have the perspective that I have now, like I'm a huge Marvel nerd as well. I don't know if anybody knows that about me. You can see everything around me. I'm a huge
I was
nerd.
going to
You
compliment
don't,
you on that.
but you don't see anything Marvel. But I'm a huge Marvel nerd. And the one line in Civil War, when I can't remember his role in it, I think he's the director that's trying to push them to sign the accord. And he talks about his heart attack on the golf course. And he talks about perspective. And that being now out of the ring for so long and just having to sit back and watch and just commission, and you see things and yeah. I'm a little bit smarter now. So if anything were to come up, I would definitely dare say put the PCW roster on notice.
Right on.
Because I've been I've been sitting on the bench for a long time, and I think it's time for other people to take a seat.
Right on. I love it, man. I think we've only been in the ring 2 times total. One was together as I think there was a 6-man or something of that nature. But we did have one-on-one match, and it was
Yeah,
way too early in our careers.
yeah,
I would love if you do happen to get back and everything goes well and a ton of good news, and all of a sudden you are getting a chance in the ring. I would absolutely love to mix it up with you. A lot older, a lot wiser, and a lot smarter too, to have a really knockout match that you really deserve. I feel you never really got your flowers for all the work you put into PCW and making the gears turn, and I think that it's about time you do get those flowers, and you do reap the rewards of all that effort. So here's hoping.
I do hope as well. I let's You do have something I've never had. Let's just say that. So there is an incentive
For sure, for
for me
sure.
for me to come back. It would be a good opportunity for us, especially for the fact that you have definitely improved, not only in your physical stature but your ring ability. Repping with you out in Lundar, you were snapping arm drags and whipping Striker around that ring. And I'll be honest, everybody's got ring rust. We're all tired. And you are like, no, it's go time. So you wouldn't be the first person I definitely wouldn't go after in the ring, because I don't think I would win, but I think when I'm ready, I gotta get back into shape, man. You there's a lot of young talent at PCW that have, like I said, they have raised a standard, and I know I've been there before, but it's been a long time. And I don't know, everybody says it's like riding a bike, you just get back on. I don't know if it's that simple, because you don't know until you're in that situation. So
Right.
we'll have to just put a pin in it.
For sure, you definitely got a little bit of a battle still ahead of you, but I'm
Yeah.
excited at the opportunity of it happening. Uh, Listening to some of this and just like reminiscing about the old days and stuff, I think that you are definitely one of the most passionate guys I've ever come into contact with throughout the local scene.
Thank you.
I wish more people had that sort of excitement about wrestling and the passion that you have, and just unwaveringly being there for the team no matter what is needed. You so crucial, especially when I was starting out. You were the guy, and there were some big shoes to fill. And I did my best, but it took a team of people to kind of fill your shoes. That's how crucial you were to PCW. I am looking forward to when things kind of get back to normal here, post COVID, having you back in the locker room, being able to share stories and kind of reminisce some more. And
Yes.
hopefully, like I said, like you said, one day, hopefully, have some unfinished business to take care of. I'm very excited to see if that happens. So I appreciate you taking some time to have a chat here. This was awesome.
Anytime.
We're definitely going to do this again at one point.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, there's still many stories that we could go over. But thanks
Oh
again for stopping in.
yeah. Thank you, man. Thank you. Like I said, anytime. If you don't mind, if you, for anybody who doesn't already, if you could follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv at Chris Marxwell. We can do these more one-on-ones. I can, it's nothing against Jay. Jay brings this out of me, but if you want to know more into, deeper things of, what we brought up today, I'll definitely gladly talk about on there. A little gaming as well. Jay, don't you also have a Twitch channel
I
that
don't
you're
need to
also
plug
on?
my stuff, man.
Oh,
I don't
come
need to
on,
plug my
man.
stuff at
You
all.
got
But
it.
this is all about you and kind of giving
It's
you some time.
and that's I think how you say it, that I'm so passionate. It's never just about me. And even right now, like I know in the past, I've not been the nicest guy to some people to some people that have helped me out, and I do apologize. But I think that's why now I've realized that this is, yeah, 100% team effort. I am just a cog in the wheel, but I am definitely the cog in the wheel that is going to, if I'm the last one, it's still, don't worry about it. If you can't, like, I know, Jay, you've got family, and you've got a family business to support. When I'm able to get back into it, if you're not able to get there to take care of that ring, you know, I hope you still think that I've got it in me, that I can
Sure.
take care of it. You'll have to inspect it to make sure it meets your new code. But yeah, no, it's just that's what I'm hoping to bring in 2022, is at least just my value back to the PCW team and the independent wrestling community as well.
Right on, man. Very excited to keep the conversations going after this, and all the best with everything going on. I know it's a lot to take in, and
Yeah.
it's but good luck with all that, and we'll see you
Thank you.
real soon in person
Yeah.
rather than via video. So we'll see you
Yeah.
next
I
time.
hope so too. See you soon.